when you're looking at a business plan in property in a property business, it's similar to a business plan in any other business. And I think actually that's something which is quite different in property circles, um, because most people see property as an investment, not as a business. So most people don't have a business plan for how they invest in property. They have a very passive sort of idea of how they're sort of parking their capital and allowing it to work for them. If you treat it more like a business and have a business plan, an actual business plan, that will enable you to do so much more with your property interests because you're actually running them as a business. So you'll want to look at all of the normal things for a business plan, where you're making your money. You'll want to look at what your resources are, whether or not you have you know other people who would be employed by that business. You want to look at your financial model and how you're using perhaps how you're using mortgages and everything else. Um, you'll want to do analysis in terms of how much you have invested and how much that's making for you. Look at different income streams. So all the normal component parts of a business plan, um, but applied in a sort of a property investment area. When we're looking at these business plans, what we do is we look at all of the resources that someone has available to them. We look at current performance. We look at the different strategies that people are investing in, and then we also look at the education they need, the things they don't yet know, strategies that could be available to them, opportunities that could be available to them. But often, when we look at what's on the table, we populate the table with the things that we already know. We don't have the opportunity to put extra things on the table. When we're working with a client to help them with their business plan, because of the experience that we have, the connections that we have, we're able to put a much broader range of things on that table. So that enables them to build a business plan with things that they don't know yet, because we can give them that education, and then that can bring a whole variety of different values depending on what it is that they want to engage with. So most most property investors run out of their own cash. And what I mean by that is if you have a certain amount of capital that you're bringing into property investment, by the time you've invested in, a handful of properties, you've now run out of your own capital. There are no more investments for you to do. If you're a property developer, maybe you go into property development with £1 million. By the time you have three projects on the go, you've used your £1 million. You find that fourth project, you have no more capital to invest in that fourth project until your first project finishes. So your own capital in so many cases is the thing that limits you from having a really successful business that would go beyond personal investment. Um, through my experience, I've then seen a lot of people who will go out to investors, but they go out to investors with the mindset, I want your money so that I can continue to invest. They don't go out to investors with the mindset of, let me help you invest your money and get a really good return, and I'm going to get something from it. Now, if you do the first, nobody wants to work with you. Because if I go to you and say, can I have your £1 million so that I can make a really good return and give you something, nobody wants to work with that person. If I go to you and say, I have a really well-oiled machine that brings fantastic returns, if you put your £1 million into it, you're going to get a fantastic return. And by the way, I'm going to get 20%, let's say. Now you do want to work with me. Now I can pick up an investor. Now I can continue to do more projects and make more money from the business that I have built, the structures that I have in place, the personnel, the opportunities, whatever else, rather than watch them go by, because I'm able to work with investors and give them a good return and earn something for myself. At 20% of every deal, I'm better off working with 10 investors on 10 projects and earning a total of 200% rather than working on none of them. But people don't tend to have that business mindset. They tend to have a very sort of narrow mindset, which is, I have something that works, give me more money so I can do more of the thing that works for me. And don't understand finance. So whenever you're in any business, you need to understand the different types of finance that are available to you in your business. And you always want to apply for the most cost-effective form of finance for the thing you're trying to do. But when it comes to investment, people don't understand investors. They don't understand what an investor is looking for, and they look at the opportunity that they have from the perspective of this is my opportunity, and I want to give as little of it away as I can for the finance that I'm going to get. Um, the biggest misunderstanding is if I come across a really good opportunity and I just need £500,000 to get it going. Um, that sounds good. Um, but actually coming across an opportunity like that, I'm going to do all the time. Um, earning £500,000 and saving it, I'm not going to do all the time. But people undervalue the fact that there is £500,000 that somebody has worked hard to earn to be in a position to invest that in property. What they're contributing to the deal, contributing £500,000 of your savings, and investing in this high risk opportunity deserves a significant return from the project. And people who find a project and are just looking for that money often devalue what the person with the money is bringing to the table. So with Vetted Estates, we work heavily in property and with lots of different strategies that will help investors to get a real return on investment. One of our closest business associates, very, very successful business, and they are in HMO development. They're HMO developers. They have a very effective process for acquiring the right property, adding significant value to that property, and then being able to refinance at the end. And there are so HMOs is a big spectrum. There are lots of things that can go right. There are lots of things that can go wrong. Um, an HMO could be turning a 3-bed house family home into a 4-bed home with individual rooms for students. That could be an HMO. Um, the the change in profit is very slight in that example. You might make slightly more money. Your costs are going to have gone up. It's not as stable as just putting a family in that home. So you might make slightly more money, or you might not. Whereas you could pick up a 3-bed property and turn it into a 7-bed property, add significant value to that property, and at the end of the project, pull all your money back out. So you have the same amount of capital available to do the same thing next year and next year and next year. So the HMO model within the world of HMOs, there are some things that work a lot better than others. This particular company has defined a really, really smooth system for taking HMOs through this process, adding significant value to the property and enabling them to reinvest year on year on year. They have put the model together in a way that is very appealing for investors. So investors are the ones making the money, and they do make good money out of every project. But essentially, they have packaged it well so that it's very appealing to an investor coming on board, which enables them to work with many, many investors all at the same time and do many, many projects every year. Very successful business for themselves, very successful for their investors. And we've introduced investors into their process, and they've done a really good job. So that's just an example of one business that doesn't just look to do the developments for themselves, but because they have defined such a good process that adds such significant value to every single project, they're able to make good money from every project they're involved in, but they're also able to give the majority of the value uplift to the investor, making it very appealing for an investor to work with them, meaning that they have a good book of investors, and they do lots of projects all at the same time.